Okay, so whether you're a landlord or a single shoebox size with a shoebox size studio or an empire of 1,000 homes, a good letting agent can save you time and money. Here's a wee list of or a idea of 4 different types of landlords and an outline of how a letting agent can actually help. So, an accidental landlord, this is someone who becomes a landlord by chance rather than design, due to inheritance or maybe a change in personal circumstances at work or anything like that. As a newcomer to the lettings game, they actually may struggle with the mountain of red tape. Geez, there's over 170 pieces of legislation in the buy-to-let market that you've got to contend with, and people just think it's easy. You just let somebody move into a house and that's the end of it. Well, no, there's a huge amount of compliance issues. There's obviously the private sector tenancy agreement that you've got to do under the Scottish legislation, which is prescribed. You've obviously got EICRs, you've got gas certificates, you've got your smoke hardwired and interlinked detectors as well. You've got Legionella testing. You've also got other ones that park testing if you're providing, and then if you've got your fire and furnishing acts, if you're providing furniture, and that is just the start of it. Standard Repairing Act, Antisocial Behaviour Act, Landlord Registration Act. The list is endless. So they may struggle with a mountain of red tape here that landlords must comply with to ensure, and remember, this is a legal requirement, to ensure that they don't break the law or wind up out of pocket. They'll actually benefit from a letting agent's expert knowledge on regulations, insurance, mortgages, and also tax. That's the other legislation. You've got the HMRC legislation, you've got mortgage issues, you've also got insurance as well to cover. So it's a big minefield. So if you're an accidental landlord and you've inherited a property, that's where it could be a huge bone of contention for you. Take a lot of your time out how to learn this, and to be honest, you could be doing something else for basically the price of a cup of coffee every single day is what you'll pay for a letting agent. You could probably do something else with that time. So the next one here is a buy-to-let landlord. They own typically 1 to 3 properties and is building a nest egg to fund their retirement or help their children get on the property ladder later on. This is the type of landlord that often has a busy career outside of the property sector and is actually time poor. Using a letting agent to manage their property and portfolio means they don't have to call on their tenants 24/7. The next one in line, and the third one I would say, is a portfolio landlord. And typically a portfolio landlord has 4 or more properties. And it's more likely they own them through a limited company. Portfolio landlords, and this is the reason for this, is because if you own them in your own right and you're actually mortgaging them, you only get tax deduction under Section 24 of the HMRC Tax Act. You only get a tax deduction at the lower rate, but it is actually 20% of the actual mortgage interest off at the end of the tax getting calculated. So everything gets added on at the top, then you get taxed, then you get to take 20% of the mortgage interest off. So you could end up paying a lot higher tax than you expect because it's in your own name. So that's why a lot of portfolio landlords actually have limited companies to mitigate against that, because that legislation, the Section 24 of the Tax Act, does not apply to limited companies. So portfolio landlords usually have a significant experience of their own properties in many locations. By managing multiple properties, but managing multiple properties can actually be a challenge. And that's why they typically use a letting agent with a good knowledge, and it can be a real asset. Portfolio landlords tend to be professional people. They tend to work a lot of hours in the industry, maybe surgeons, possibly accountants, possibly solicitors, possibly from other different areas as well. So they're running their own businesses, and they've got all the time in the world to do that. It's all locked up and running their own business or working full-time in a job. So the last thing they want to do is get involved day to day, having to get involved in legislative issues and day-to-day things that they need to manage in between managing a portfolio. So that's why they typically have a letting agent doing that on their behalf. The final one for me is a professional landlord or investor. They actually enjoy managing property full-time, and they earns a living from the rental portfolio. While professional landlords are very hands-on, they're often still use the expert services of a letting agent to source high-quality tenants and actually run reference checks as well. And that's typically what a professional landlord will do. It is maybe something to do day in, day out, but their time is better spent on actually investing in or sourcing more property, because it's more productive for them to utilize their time like that than actually managing the day-to-day portfolio. So that's why a professional landlord tends to do that, or a professional investor as well. Hope that's given you a wee insight into the 4 different types of landlords. Do you know which one you are? And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV.